Obviously, last time we talked, we were getting you ready for the Preakness Stakes. Maybe a little bit of less drama because there's no Triple Crown. But I tell you what, folks, all that lack of drama and stuff like that, throw it out the window, because that might have been one of the most exciting stretch runs that I've ever seen. Obviously, journalism capturing the Belmont, or excuse me, the Preakness. But the way that that horse and Umberto Rispoli did it, obviously getting essentially sandwiched between, I forget the horse that was on the inside, and then it was, oh shoot, who was the one horse?
Bill Oriented.
Bill Oriented, thank you. Yes, and of course, I think it was the 5 horse that was in the middle, or the 8 horse that was on the inside, because that was those are the 2 horses I had on my ticket and kind of went up in flames. But we see that collision and we think, oh, all right, well, journalism, better luck in the Belmont, or maybe a little later. But Umberto Rispoli and journalism say, no, we're not leaving this up to the stewards. We're going to keep running. And my goodness, what a finish. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Preakness Stakes day overall?
Yeah, I think another disappointment again was number 3 Sandman.
Yeah.
Who once again just did not live up to the hype, couldn't keep up with the pace. I mean, came in, I believe, 4th, maybe 3rd, but still there was never a challenge as far as wasn't on the radar to come anywhere close to the wire on this one. But let's talk about the major players there and what happened. Now, a lot of people got on Flavien Prat, who was riding goal-oriented, because of the way he was responding to Umberto coming up on his left and not just boxed him in. I mean, they hit hard, and how somebody didn't get disqualified,
unbelievable
on me. And how journalism didn't go down is beyond me. But let me ask you this. If you look at it again, and the race is done, it's in the books, and there's nothing to be challenged, did Rispoli hold back too much on the backstretch? And then did he get too close on the rail, as opposed to coming around? And if you know your horse has got that kind of kick, take him outside. Why are you trying to make this run in the middle? Or did he just get boxed in? And I haven't seen that yet in the times I've watched it. But, you know, it was almost like Flavien saw him and said, really? You're going to do this? Okay, let's play. It just seems like it was a great ride, a great run. And journalism showed the kind of speed he's got. But I don't know if he had to be put in that position. In the meantime, while these 2 guys are doing the roller derby match race down the stretch, Gosger's just skipping along on the inside. It reminded me of the old, Bugs Bunny racing the turtle, and Bugs is doing all this wacky stuff, and the turtle's just skipping along and going to win the race. Gosger missed it by that much.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, and I don't really watch a whole lot of NASCAR, but, they have the big super speedways, and it's the last lap, and it going into the last turn, and the leader, takes the lead, 2nd and 3rd are jostling, and they spin out, and then just chaos behind it. And then you got this one car just coming to the finish, like essentially like we avoided the most damage. And I mean, an 1/8 of a mile, and we're talking actually probably even less than that. We're talking a lot differently about this Preakness. It is a good point about whether or not journalism should have been in that position, and definitely can be debated. But for me, the fact that he was in that position, whether rightly or wrongly, he was, and for the horse and jockey to both deal with that. I mean, and Flavien Prat, he is maybe right behind Irad Ortiz or right with Irad Ortiz. However you want to deal with your jockey rankings, it's fine, but he's in the top 2 or 3. And then you got this Umberto Rispoli guy who we know very well here on the West Coast. But I mean, you kind of even brought it up in the Derby. There were some people questioning his ride of journalism in the Derby. Did he come up too early? And I really did think that it was 2 weeks of second guessing of like, man, this is really your jockey, you know? And I do think a lot of that is the West Coast or East Coast bias of, unless your name is Mike Smith and you're a West Coast jockey, like, what are you doing here on the East Coast? Like, you have an optional claiming race to run. You have an allowance race to run. What are you doing here? This is a grade 1, sir. And then for Umberto Rispoli to take those bumps, and who knows, maybe if journalism doesn't win that race, maybe we do see some disqualification, something there. Because I do think the stewards saw it and just went, we're going to leave it alone.
I did see inquiry.
Yeah, they did.
But a few seconds after, but then all of a sudden they came back when the gal that rides and interviews the jockeys, and she's the one who I heard it from. She clarified. She goes, "Oh, and by the way, there is no inquiry. You're it. You're the winner."
That's crazy. Because I mean, I felt like the inquiry, that was like the one that, like, I mean, I texted you immediately, hold all tickets, because I mean, I didn't think it was going to change, but there was a lot of contact. And I probably should have started this first. Thank goodness everybody came out correct, because that is a scary situation, especially on the rail in that kind of front pack-ish. Obviously, I know Gosger had a couple lengths on all of them, but you're in that kind of first pack. If someone goes down, you got traffic behind you that won't be able to move away. So thank goodness they got through that. But I was very, very impressed with Umberto Rispoli kind of taking those bumps from Flavien Prat, maybe a little big brother or little brother in him. And even for journalism, the horse that just say, no, I'm not going to let this horse bully me. I'm going to go. And I think it was the perfect example, because I do think goal-oriented and the 8 horses name that is continually escaping me. I do think they were both fading. So, you know, again, I don't think
Clever again.
Clever again. I know
Clever again, completely faded.
Yeah, faded, like almost to the point where might have missed the whole thing if it faded just a split second faster, just because that was the big reason. I think Umberto Rispoli thought he had essentially passed, or at least cleared Clever again. And, you know, again, a lot of bumping, a lot of jostling, but an incredible ride, and very, very thankful that it came out. Everyone was kind of upright, and I think the right, you know, finish happened. Obviously, if you were holding a Gosger ticket, you're probably kicking some rocks right now, getting very frustrated. Look, I understand your frustration, but an incredible run.
And looking at the results again, Sandman did get the show position. So really, is that because Sandman was a better horse by less than a second? No, Flavien took himself out of the money.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other question too, because I do wonder if somehow, some way, goal-oriented would have, because I believe goal-oriented finished 4th. Right. If goal-oriented had gotten into that show position, do then the stewards go, okay, we have to get in front of this? Because again, I think the stewards kind of went, hey, everyone's upright. Journalism was the one that was infracted upon, or, you know, penalized or whatever, interfered with. He still went on to win the race. The horse that interfered with him didn't make it in the money. Let's just move on. That would be a very interesting, you know, interview for those stewards, if you could feed them some truth serum. But it was a very, and the sports world kind of needed it, because going into the weekend, unfortunately, the Preakness was kind of the fourth. Yeah, I mean, because you had the PGA, and then you had 2 Game 7s. You had one in the NBA, one in the NHL. Now, the PGA was a wash by the end of it. And then both Game 7s were essentially blowouts as well. So all the drama came from essentially that stretch run at the Preakness. Just thought it was kind of ironic, maybe a year that people slept on the Preakness. It might have been one of the best.
And one more thing, as much as I asked you the question, man, did Umberto put himself in this position, and did he have to? I'll ask the same question about Flavien Prat.
Yeah.
Should he have pushed a goaler oriented a little harder down the back stretch? and not been in the position he was at.
I was very, very surprised with the pace, or I guess I should say lack of pace.
Pace was moderate at best.
It was, and I mean, you could just tell. I mean, the fact that Gosger finished second, even with the shenanigans, like I really don't think that, I mean, it would have been goal-oriented over Sandman if the shenanigans didn't happen. I don't think Gosger falls out of the money in that case. So it was almost like a moment of like nobody wants the lead except for Gosger, who essentially has nothing to lose. And by the time everyone went, oh crap, there's all chaos, and it was too late. And Sandman is, I mean, I brought it up last time we talked about it. I mean, if this horse gets off to a better start, Sandman probably wins this race. You know, if it has a better break, this is a horse, I understand it wants to close. I get it, but it closes because it can't get that start that is needed. And you're seeing it, you know, third, fourth in the Derby, whatever it was, and now third here. It's just not going to get it done in a grade one. I mean, the tippity top of the grade one level, going to have to improve.